What are the travel documents that are required before you board a cruise? This is a question that comes up pretty often. And good, today we're going to discuss about what Royal Caribbean recommends for their cruises, which is pretty much the same for all other cruise lines as well, but they may have some nuances. So it's always best to check with the cruise line that you sell. But today we're going to look at Royal Caribbean's recommendations as to what's needed. When you cruise, everybody requires some form of government ID to board the ship. And our recommendation is always to travel with a passport. So a passport is makes it really easy at the port. It makes it a smoother transition when you embark. It's universally recognized, so there's no other verification that's needed. And once you have your passport, it makes it really easy for boarding on embarkation day. One of the things that you must make sure of is that your name on your passport matches the name on your reservation. So prior to cruising, just check your documents, check your reservation, make sure that they match. And if they don't, just kind of call the cruise line and have them correct your reservation before you get to the pier. The other thing to keep in mind is that a passport needs to be valid for 6 months from the date you return from your cruise. So, for example, if you're returning on June 1st, your passport needs to be valid for 6 months from June 1st. It's not the date you embark on the cruise or the date you make the booking, it's always the date you return. So don't wait till the last minute to renew your passport. Check it out if it's expiring within the next few months. Go ahead and get it renewed so that you have a current passport, and in the event of an emergency you'll have that and ready to to embark if you need to and go right away. The other thing that people can may say that is required is a birth certificate instead of a passport. Birth certificates are okay for most sailings, but you got to check to see your itinerary and check with the cruise lines to see if a birth certificate will work. A birth certificate will work only on sailings which sail out of a US port and return to a US port. So if you're setting sail from a different port outside the country and you're coming back to the US, that's not going to work. It has to depart from the US and come back to the US. So in those cases, a birth certificate is you can use that along with the government issued ID, like your driver's license. The one thing that you have to keep in mind is you have to have the original birth certificate. Uh, a copy will not work. It has to be an original, and you need to have that with you in person along with your government issued ID. For children 15 and below, if you're traveling with a birth certificate, they don't need any other ID, just the birth certificate will be sufficient. We talked about the names, how they have to match. Now, in the event that you have had a name change since the time you applied for, you got your reservation, but you haven't had a chance to change your passport to the current name, make sure you bring the required documents. So it could be a marriage certificate, a divorce decree, adoption papers, whatever it may be. Bring those documents to validate why your name is different. So that's really important that you do that. Now, what about kids and family members who are traveling with kids who are not their own, like the aunts or the uncles or the grandparents who have taken the kids on a cruise and the parents are not there with them or the guardians are not traveling with them? In those cases, you need to have there's a notarized form that you can get from the cruise line that needs to be completed, and it has to be notarized. Just a safe precaution to say that you have the authority to take this child outside the country, and the parents or the guardians have given you approval for that. So that's important that you do that. If you show up at the pier and you're not the legal guardian or you don't have the notarized certificate, unfortunately, you will be denied boarding. So it's important that you look at what's needed, especially if they're kids and you're not the guardian for those or the parents for those kids. Now, what about if your name is different? What about if the kid's name is different from the parent's last name? This could happen in different situations. It could be a marriage situation, it could be a divorce situation, it also could be an adoption situation. Make sure that whatever documents are needed to prove that those are the same kids who are traveling with you, look at what's needed, check with the cruise liners what's needed, and make sure you have those documents to support why the kids' names are different from yours and that you are the legal guardian for those kids. Visas. A lot of times, visas may be required for countries. So check with the embassy and look at all the ports that you're going and check to see if a visa is required. Visas depend on your whether your citizenship. So if you're a U.S. citizen, you may not require for a country that you're going to. But if you're a non-U.S. citizen, you will require a visa. So it's always best to check with the embassy and the embassy site for that particular country and see whether you qualify that you need a visa or you do not require one. So make sure you do that before you travel. The last thing I want to really point out is when you have all your documentation, whether it be your passport, your birth certificate, or whatever supporting documents you need to cruise, make sure that it's all on you and it's not in your checked baggage. If if you today check baggage, it's going to really delay the boarding. It's going to be hard to get to your bag, so make sure you always carry it with you. Or there may be a situation if you put it in your check bag and your bags don't arrive on time for the board, then you're going to be denied boarding. So a real good tip is always carry your all your documents in person with you and do not check them. So this is Shanta Mani with Luxury Destinations Concierge. If I can help you answer any of the questions, or if you need some help with some cruises, love to help you.